It was the day of my brother's wedding, a day that should have been filled with joy, excitement, and family love. My brother, Ryan, had always been the life of our family. He was charming, outgoing, and well liked by everyone. When he announced that he was getting married to Sarah, we were all thrilled. She seemed like the perfect match for him, beautiful, intelligent, and kind hearted. Or so I thought. The wedding was going to be a grand affair, held at a luxurious venue just outside the city. As his sister, I had been given the honor of being a bridesmaid. I was looking forward to supporting him on his big day, but there was something that I couldn't shake off. My gut told me that something wasn't right about Sarah. Maybe it was the way she seemed to control every detail of the wedding, or the way she spoke to people with an air of superiority. But it wasn't until the day of the wedding that I truly saw her for who she really was. The bridal suite was filled with laughter, chatter, and excitement as we got ready. I was putting on my dress, adjusting the lace and ribbons, trying my best to look my best for my brother's special day. The moment I stepped out of the dressing room, I saw Sarah. She was standing by the window, looking at herself in the mirror, and her face lit up with a smile when she saw me. "Wow, you look nice," she said, but there was a slight, almost imperceptible sneer in her voice. I smiled, trying to be polite. "Thanks, you look beautiful too." Her smile faltered for a second, and her eyes scanned me from head to toe. "Well, it's good to know you can clean up okay," she added, her tone dripping with condescension. I froze. Was she mocking me? It wasn't the first time I had felt her passive-aggressive attitude toward me, but this was the first time she'd openly said something hurtful. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced a smile, not wanting to ruin the mood, but inside, my stomach churned. Sarah didn't just think she was better than me. She made sure everyone knew it. The ceremony was beautiful. Ryan stood at the altar, looking dashing in his tuxedo, and Sarah entered the room, the picture of elegance in her flowing white gown. The guests were mesmerized, and the vows they exchanged seemed so heartfelt. It was a moment that was meant to be perfect, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of envy as I watched Ryan marry the woman he loved. But as the ceremony went on, I noticed Sarah's behavior becoming more and more controlling. She was making comments to the wedding planner, whispering to the photographer about how the photos should be taken, and subtly instructing the guests on where to sit. It was clear to me that she was in charge, and that wasn't even the worst of it. The reception was held in a grand ballroom, and the atmosphere was electric. People were dancing, eating, and enjoying the festivities. As the bridesmaids and groomsmen lined up for the entrance, I tried to put on a brave face, knowing that I had to keep my emotions in check. I danced, I laughed, and I did my best to be the supportive sister. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. During dinner, I found myself seated at the table with Sarah's family. They were pleasant enough, but I could feel their eyes on me as I ate. Sarah had made sure to assign me to a table far from her and Ryan, and I could tell that she was enjoying the power she had over the seating arrangements. As I nibbled on my food, I noticed her sitting at the head table, laughing with her friends and family, all while Ryan was trying to keep up with her pace. He was no longer the fun-loving brother I knew. He seemed lost in her presence, constantly trying to meet her expectations. At one point, I looked across the room to see my 8-year-old son, Oliver, sitting at the kids' table with a group of children. He was enjoying his meal and playing with some of the other kids, but something seemed off. He had a look on his face, one that I knew well. It was a look of confusion mixed with discomfort. Oliver had always been a perceptive child, noticing things that adults often overlooked. The evening progressed, and as the music played, people began to dance. I was sitting at my table, chatting with a few relatives, when I suddenly heard Sarah's voice. She was speaking to one of her bridesmaids, but the words reached me clearly. "Ooh, some people just don't know how to dress properly," she muttered, her voice loud enough for me to hear. I looked up, my stomach dropping when I realized she was talking about me. I was wearing a simple yet elegant dress that I thought was perfect for the occasion. But to Sarah, it clearly wasn't enough. My heart raced as I felt a mixture of anger and humiliation, but before I could say anything, I saw Oliver walk over. "Mom," he said, tugging on my sleeve, "I don't like the way she talks about you. It's not fair." I knelt down to his level, trying to smile and calm him. "It's okay, sweetheart. Don't worry about it." But Oliver wasn't having any of it. He looked me in the eye and said, "No, Mom, it's not okay. I don't want her to hurt you. I'm going to tell her something." I watched in shock as Oliver walked straight up to Sarah, who was still laughing with her bridesmaids. The room seemed to quiet down as Oliver stood in front of her, holding his ground. He was small, but his words were mighty. "Excuse me, Sarah," he said, his voice clear and firm. "You shouldn't say those things about my mom. She's beautiful and she's kind." "You're wrong." For a moment, the room was silent. Sarah's smile faltered as she looked down at my son. Her face went pale, and for the first time, I saw her lose her composure. "What did you say?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I said, you shouldn't make fun of my mom," Oliver repeated, standing taller now, his voice unwavering. "She's the best mom ever, and you shouldn't be mean to her. If you don't want to be nice, you should just leave her alone." The entire room seemed to be holding its breath. Sarah was speechless, her mouth opening and closing as she tried to come up with something to say. But Oliver stood his ground, and I could see the look of realization on her face. She had been exposed not just as a petty person, but as someone who had underestimated a child's wisdom. Sarah didn't say another word to me for the rest of the evening. Her arrogance and superiority vanished, replaced with a stony silence. I couldn't help but feel a small victory, not for me, but for Oliver. He had stepped in to defend me when I couldn't defend myself, and he had done it with a strength that left me in awe. Later, after the wedding, Ryan came to me apologizing for Sarah's behavior. He explained that he hadn't realized how controlling she was, and he promised that he would talk to her about it. I wasn't sure if he was saying it just to pacify me, but I appreciated the gesture. I knew that Ryan was caught in the middle, but I also knew that he needed to see the truth about Sarah. As for Sarah, I knew that this wouldn't be the last time she tried to manipulate or mock me. But I also knew that with Oliver by my side, I wasn't alone. He had shown me that sometimes the most unexpected voices can be the most powerful. A few months later, Ryan and Sarah invited me to another family gathering. I was hesitant at first, remembering the events of the wedding, but I knew that things had changed. Sarah had apologized for her behavior, but it was clear that the tension between us would take time to heal. At the gathering, I was amazed to see that Sarah had truly tried to change. She was kinder, more considerate, and even made an effort to engage with me. While I still wasn't sure how sincere her apology was, I appreciated that she was making an effort. And through it all, I realized that the love and support I needed had always been there right in front of me, in the form of my son, Oliver. His courage and unwavering belief in me had taught me something valuable. No matter how tough things get, there's always a way to stand up for what's right. As I looked at Oliver, smiling at me across the room, I knew that he would always have my back, just as I would always have his. And with that, I knew that no matter what Sarah or anyone else threw our way, we would face it together as a family.